every year I'm like, oh, every year I'm going to read this book, that book. I get like a laundry list of books, or like someone says, hey, I want to read these. What books would be good to read? And I might read one of them or half of one. And in my video this morning, I shared with you guys that I am super ADHD. Anyone who knows me can attest to this. So if you're like me and you're a bouncer and you bounce, through books, it's just nice to have like a purpose to get together and actually like have a deadline. Okay, we're going to read this book by then. And like I said to the people that have joined earlier, the book club is really for whether you read it or not, it doesn't matter, because you're going to get so much out of this conversation we're going to have together, because this is a conversation. It's not me talking at you. This is a conversation for us to collaborate. But the reason that I chose this book first was because I think marketing, well, I know marketing is what results in what we all want, which is more transactions, because that funds our life, right? If we sell more houses. So this book is a catalyst for that. And I really feel like it is going to be your tool to help you get to that next level with your business. I know it is, because I've actually read this book 3 times, crazily enough. So this particular book, I just wanted to start off with what it starts with. Basically, is the key is being clients want to be seen, they want to be understood, and they want to be heard, right? So when we do our marketing, it says that there's lots of companies out there that spend millions and millions of dollars, and more importantly, even more than money, they spend a ton of time on their messaging to the consumer, but they really miss the mark, because they're shouting from the rooftops, hey, I can fix your roof, hey, I can sell your house, hey, I can do this. You like who they are, and it like turns it all back on um the actual business, not what that person needs. So building a story brand is really about helping you lock in on what your clients need, not your needs. And that's really been powerful. So let me get my notes here, my handwritten notes. Okay, so the messaging of all of that is super important. And yeah, we have a guest. We have a guest coming in. But how your customers think is really going to be the most important part. What's important to them that's going to help them move the needle for themselves, not for us. So whether you're talking to a client to get more sales or more buyers or more opportunities for agent attraction, that basically is if you're trying to attract agents to your organization so that they can have a better future, like how are you sharing that with them? How are you getting that across to them? So this book is really about that. I sent you all basically a set of questions. Did anybody take the time as they're reading the book to write down notes? I know some of you were jotting them on the sides of the corners of the pages. Were any of you like writing down things? How do you guys internalize when you're reading a book? How do you capture that information in ways that can move the needle forward for you? What have you guys found? I'm just curious, as a group, how have you found it to be impactful for you? Anybody want to open up and share? Enza, thank you.
Yeah, I have a little notebook that I put next to me, and if something strikes me as important or something I want to remember or implement, I write it in the book. Your
Nice.
questions were real helpful too, because then I went a step further, not only to just write down, oh, well, I like what they're saying, but how does this apply to me? How can I utilize it for myself? And I
That's
just would
excellent.
put down some ideas.
That's excellent. So Brent just sat down across from me, and some of you may or may not know Brent, but most of you probably do. He always says, like, when you take down notes and then you take notes from your notes, and I've seen him do this. I've literally walked over there at him and Kathy's condo, and he'll be sitting at his dining room table, and he's like, I'm taking notes from my notes. And so when someone does what they say they're doing and they're showing, he does what he says. And then you know what he does from that? Then he teaches from that. So what I was telling you, if you really want to learn something, you write it down. That's why we created those questions. Because when we read the book, that's great. And when we listen to an Audible, that's great. But if you sit down with Audible and you have a notepad and you're writing down those things as they're coming to you, a lot of times we're doing it when we're washing dishes or we're like walking the dog, which is great because we're getting good information. But in order to really implement it in our business, if we can take it a step further by writing it down, I think that really helps us. There's something cognitively that happens, and Gene Frederick talks about it. When you write something down, it actually it helps change that neural pathway in our brain that helps us think a little differently. Has you ever had someone like you've been around someone for an hour and they talk to you about something, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I get this, I'm in this, I understand this. And if you haven't actually taken action with it, meaning like written it down, and you walk away and you're like an hour later, you're like going to go tell your husband or your friend or whoever, you go to tell them and you're like, yeah, it was really good. Like you don't really have like the real, maybe one or two things, but maybe there was 20 things. If you write it down, then you can kind of reflect back on it and go back through your notes and then add them to your calendar. Because one of the things I love to do is take the items from my notes and take notes from my notes, kind of like what Brent does. But I also like to like figure out who's going to help me with it because I can't do it all. So that gets us into the whole delegation thing of who are we going to have help us with what we're good at and not good at. And that's going to be a whole nother conversation for later. But what this is a great foundation for you guys. And the reason this book was super exciting to me to read is because I think our messaging, like we all mean really, really well with our messaging to our audience. But are we really speaking to them and their need? And it was interesting because it made me think about a hobby that I have acquired, scuba diving. Now, that goes against all human facets of life. You're going to get underwater and you're going to breathe. Like, that's crazy, right? And I was thinking, how did somebody talk me into going scuba diving? To agreeing to put this device in my mouth that I'm going to breathe off of and trust the tank on the back of my back, and I'm going to get in the ocean with sharks. And like you know what I'm saying? So that had to come from an interest, right? But then someone had to walk me through that or be my guide to become a scuba diver. Because this book talks about the hero and the guide. So who on the call did you guys relate to? How did you feel? Did you feel like when you're talking with your clients, do you feel like you're like the guide, or do you feel like you're the hero? Because it's an interesting concept. That was really foreign to me before. How many of you, would anyone mind sharing like their thoughts on the hero and the guide? Anybody? Kat, oh, okay, Michelle, go ahead. You're muted
I
though. There you go.
found it I found it really interesting is because we're always talking about ourselves and what we can do.
Right.
And that we're not the hero of our story, that we need to put our clients and customers to be the hero of the story. And that will attract them to us.
That's really, really bright. So like the hero, for those of you that haven't read the book yet, the hero is basically your client. They're the hero. You're the guide. So you're like the Sherpa. So imagine climbing Mount Everest. You always have a guide, right? And they make you the hero. But who's really the hero? Anybody?
It's the
Who's
client.
The client.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that exactly. So like who's so the client is the hero. So the Sherpa who's helping the climber climb Mount Everest, they're helping as they're making the climber the hero, but they've already climbed Mount Everest 100 times or more. But they're not. Boris, I'd love to hear your input.
So I'm not a real estate agent. I'm a loan officer.
Okay,
And
cool.
what I appreciated about this book is that, and I've been in and out of the industry for 25 years plus,
Very
but
cool.
what my goal, I always tell my clients, my job here is to show you all the options available. Your job is to choose one and ask me what I think about your choice. And what I appreciated about the book is that it actually took all of that and assigned it some values, like hero and guide, and gave me a nice perspective to look at it. And also I can use it in my conversation with my clients.
Great.
Now
So
I
you're
can say,
giving
well,
the
you're the hero of this mortgage transaction, and I am, as a loan officer, I'll be your guide, holding your hand and showing you the path. So I appreciated that.
so you gave them a plan, basically.
I give them an education. I show them all the paths available and let them choose the path that suits their situation the most.
Right, right.
Sorry,
That's
that's me. But yeah, I appreciated that book. And once on a slightly different note, if you don't mind a deviation, in one of the chapters it talked about a study done in the 70s about whether people prefer not to lose than to win, that people get more upset about losing than winning. And I've had this conversation a million times with clients who are trying to find the bottom of the market, waiting for that bottom of the market. And I always keep saying, lock, because you'll be more upset if you lose than and less happy than happy if you win. And this book, again, it just gives me a really nice tagline for it. It's
that's brilliant. I love that you brought that up because it's so true. People don't, a lot of times people won't take action because they're afraid they'll lose. Have you
well,
guys
and
ever
it's the
found that?
same. I
Yeah,
was thinking about working out.
right.
Like
Correct.
many, not to name names, but many of us will not work out or diet or whatnot until there's an actual health issue that arises.
Right.
And
Well,
then, well, now I actually have something to lose, which I don't want. Rather than gaining a healthy lifestyle, now I want to avoid a disease or a condition or, you know,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things, like the very first chapter, I want to jump into that for just a minute. And Sarah, I see your hand. I'm going to call on you in just a second. Is the survive versus thrive? Because the interesting thing is as advanced as we are with all this technology and everything that we're doing, we are really designed to still survive and then to thrive, right? So it's like I gotta say, I have food for my family. So we go to this survival before we can actually go outward of ourselves and do things that are maybe a little uncomfortable. The consumer or whoever's receiving what we're trying to offer, they have these innate desires to want to survive and not that's just part of human nature, and no matter how evolved we think we are, that's just part of who we are. So that's why the messaging is so important to what we're doing. And then the story is important because if you can relate it to a story, I was guilty of this last year, guys. I told Kevin and Brent and Craig, I'm like, hey, I'm really working on my branding. How many of you guys have worked on your branding? How many of you think it's your colors and your fonts and all of that? Do you get hung up on your branding as being like, do you stop yourself from doing something because the logo is not right and it's not crisp and it's not this and it's not that? It has nothing to do with that. It's you, you're your brand. You know, what you say, like your heart, this part right here, this piece that's in your body, that's your brand. Like where you're coming from inside. And then people are attracted to that. So I got out of my head. I like I'm trying really hard to like I have this huge want to create value for people. Like I want you to feel like, oh well, let's do something of value. And it was pointed out to me this past weekend that it's not always about like another event, another value add, but like just being authentic and who you are in your journey to show people in the path that okay, I was sick last week for 5 days. I like one day I like rallied through. The next day I paid for it and I had to stay in bed all day. I slept all day, guys. I don't do that. That's crazy, but that's the reality of Shelly's life. I'm not freaking perfect. I'm just a human being trying to get through this life just like everybody else. But the story creates the bond. So without the story, and that's something I've really hidden from people. Like my story is not nowhere near beautiful, but it has a beautiful ending. Guess what? Our stories from when we were kids or whenever that happened, that mess happened in our life, it happened for a reason so we could have a beautiful ending. It doesn't have to be about like, and I was like not really ashamed to tell it, but I'm like, who cares? That doesn't matter. But other people have gone through the same things I've gone through. And if I don't ever share that with people, they never know that we actually have a common bond. Like we have something that we push through, whether it's like we don't have to have the exact same story, but it's our story, and whether it's like maybe you don't go back 50 years to tell that story, but maybe you tell the story of this weekend that happened to me where I was like, I've been pushing really, really hard and then I got sick, doggone it. And then I'm in bed all day. Like that's a real story. Like that's real life. Right. Or like our dogs like threw up on the carpet. I mean, that happens. My dog keep eating on the floor. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, just be real. So our clients really appreciate when we come from a place of authenticity of that. And that really hit me in this book as well. Um, so that's a lot of information for all of you. But the other thing that hit me in this book was our messaging has to be super concise because there's so much, he called it noise. Like there's so much noise coming in all the time. Like we've got social media, jump on this Zoom, go to this event, go to this soccer practice, drive your dog to the vet. Your mom needs her house cleaned out because she's got to sell it. I need, like, there's so much noise, right? Like it's hard to grab attention. Well, your clients are, and whoever whether it's an agent you want to talk to or a client, they have the same thing. So our messaging has to be concise and to the point so that they can get what they need quickly. That was something I learned in here, and I'm going to share these couple of things. And I want you guys, Sarah, you're going to talk to us. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. But you got to have a concrete formula. It must engage, and you must map it out and give them a plan. So that's why I think taking the notes on all of this, like, I mean, I have pages of notes here, guys, and then and I think I could read this again and go through it another time. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to offer for you guys to join me again. And we're going to work on our businesses over the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to get back together and we're like, hey, I implemented this from the book into my business. And this is how it's making a difference. Because remember I told you last year that I was working on my brand and I was like, not good. Like it was just all right. I wasn't even happy with it. I'm like, that doesn't really feel like me. It didn't feel like me. But this year, I'm like, I feel differently I'm excited about it. My brand isn't a color. Like I was still hung up on the color, even after I knew I shouldn't be hung up on the color. Like that just, I don't know. What is this like perfection thing we all have in us? Like, what is that? So, okay, Sarah, I want you to share with us what you were going to. I really appreciate you putting your hand up.
No, I didn't even have anything big. It was just kind
Oh,
of the
good.
overall on the book from when you were just asking about original insights. I was just going to say I haven't had a book speak to me so clearly.
Mm.
It's like it's simple, but we've overcomplicated this. So I like how, like, one of the things that stuck with me that he said was thinking of yourself as Yoda and your
Yeah.
client as Luke Skywalker when you go to put your messaging out there. That's helped me shape that, to think because it's so easy to paint ourselves as the hero because, we know we really are in real estate the hero so often in these transactions of saving them, through so many things.
Yeah.
But to think of ourselves instead as the guide so that they can be their own hero, it was
Mhm.
just such a new thought process. And so I just aligned with that. I really just wanted to share that to say that it's made a big shift in my thinking overall. And I think it makes it easier to put your messaging out there with that in mind as the guide.
You said that wasn't a big thing. That was a huge thing you just said.
Okay. Good. Good.
Because you know
It's
what
just
she had? It's the first book that was so concise that she was able to like figure out as probably something we've all been like struggling with for a long time. I know I have been. It was so concise, and then the Yoda and the Luke Skywalker with the guide, it was a really good visual because we've all watched that, you know,
Mhm.
and that was it's a really good visual and we can all relate to that. Um, it's important. One of the things that he talked about in the book, does anybody remember him talking about the negative, like how you have to show them what's like, I've always had a problem with showing people, have you guys struggled with showing people like what's wrong? I have, because I'm like, what's wrong is like not that or the negative piece. You have to show people the negative. People, he said in the book, hold on, I'm probably jumping around a little bit here, but forgive me. Um, they have to fret a little bit. In movies, you have to, when you watch a really good movie, do you fret? A little bit. Like it's not fun unless you're like fretting a little bit. You're like, oh gosh, I hope that he gets the girl. Jeez, I hope he gets the girl. Right? If you're romantic like me, it's like, gosh, I hope that works out for her. Like she wins the trophy or whatever it is. Like Christine used to be a barrel racer. Like I hope she makes that barrel and she beats him out. Like I hope she gets first place. So it's like you just want that person to win, and you have to have an antagonist. And an antagonist is someone's really irritating. Like it's really irritating that you have bugs in your, and this was the funniest thing in the book to me. It was like, when they do like the scrubbing bubbles, you guys, do you know what they do with the scrubbing bubbles? Like the guys with the little, like their scrub heads and they got eyeballs and they're running around the sink and the toilet and the tub and they're cleaning, 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 cleaning. They're the antagonists. Then there's like the bug. They're not the, they're the good guys, but they got the bugs that are in there and they're like grungy, yuckiness, right? And they're going to come in there and they're going to save the day. Well, it's like that's a commercial that's built off the story brand. I mean, they turned germs into like these ugly, awful things. And this other guy's going to come in, Mr. Bubbles is going to come in and save the day, right? So it's kind of a similar, it's a visual for it. That there's a reason for that psychology of why they do that. And the biggest problem, he said, is that we try to solve too many problems. Like, yeah, we could have the solution to 30 things, but we try to solve too many problems and then we end up not getting their attention because there's too much noise and they can't focus and it's not concise. And I'm guilty of that too, because I'm like, oh, I can fix this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that. You got to hone in to their problems. Like when you have that consult, you guys are great at this. I know you are. It's like when you go to that listing appointment and you're talking to Mrs. Seller, Mr. Seller, and you're just hitting your stride with them and you're asking good questions and you're like right on point with the solution of how you're going to solve their problem. We have to do the same thing on our social media marketing. Where we're right on point with where that problem is and being the solution to the problem. Does anyone have any thoughts about that? Or do you remember that part of the book where they're talking about the fretting? Anybody remember that? Boris.
Yeah, Shelley, doesn't he talk about like the insurance commercials? I
Yeah.
can't remember. What's the name? What's that company?
Full state.
Yeah, Allstate. Yeah, where
Mayhem.
they Mayhem. There you go. I knew I was like,
Mayhem.
mention the
That's
word.
right.
There you go.
So I love that. And Micah's a really good marketer. Like she knows how to grab their attention. So it's Micah, share with them, like, so Micah owns a restaurant called Ballers. And their marketing is they're going to come in and have fun and hang out together. Like it's a family friendly restaurant that you guys could come in, relax, and like that's their marketing. Like you've had a rough week, come be with us. We're fun. We have a great vibe. We have a good feeling. So it solves the problem of stress. Like come to hang out with us after you had a stressful week. So it's like all in your messaging of how you communicate that. Micah, do you have anything else? Explain the mayhem thing a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so it just shows because you don't really actually, I was dealing with an insurance claim earlier today. So it's funny, they talk about the lost runs with insurance. They go 3 to 5 years back and to see your history of claims. And if you're educated enough to place a claim, that's literally what the insurance agent told me. He said that's what the insurance companies look for. So I think the whole idea with Mayhem is for people that maybe haven't experienced any kind of catastrophe is, this could happen. You could be in Puerto Rico and have a tsunami like we had a warning last week, and your house could flood.
That's a pretty big thing to fret about, a tsunami. Right?
Yeah, we're all texting each other. So it's like my mind never thought about a tsunami before, but now it does.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about calling my insurance agent about a tsunami.
And it's funny, even speaking of ballers, which I give the credit to naming ballers actually to Shelley, but I was actually having that conversation with my partner because our bar is always full. And sorry, guys, but it's a lot of middle-aged men. And I said, because if you look at our social media, it shifted a bit from family friendly to selfies of the bartenders. And I said, that's why we're attracting people. Our bar is always full, but our dining is not as full now. So definitely the marketing and the messaging controls the consumers and who's coming in, who's attracted to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ashley, I would love to hear from you. She's from New Jersey. It's cold up there too. Girl, we gotta get you some warm weather.
Friends, it is freezing. Yes, Ashley from Jersey. Something for me that really hit home, and I really didn't put two and two together until I read the book, was I always found that customers who become kind of your raving fans are customers that went through some type of struggle and you and them overcame it, whether it be a bad agent or a bad loan officer on the other end or whatever it might be. And so to me, that was so eye-opening. So now I'm kind of taking in the back of my mind, not to create chaos, but how can I kind of create that story for regular customers for them to all become eventually raving fans? Because some, the ones who have extreme circumstances, they become the raving fans. They tell everyone about you, get referrals and referrals. So I just wanted to share that because I thought that was really great what I read from the book.
That's actually, it's funny you say that, but that actually really correlates with this book because it is true. It's the people we build a story with,
Mhm.
that do refer to us.
Yeah.
It's interesting because and they find the value and they're like, oh my gosh, she saved me. Like, and someone wrote in the comments, page 111, people hate losing $100 more than they like winning $100. People are 2 or 3 times more motivated to make a change to avoid loss than they are to achieve a gain. Isn't
Yes.
that interesting? So like, let's think about that a minute. Excuse me, I'm still sick, but I'm okay. So let's think about that for a minute. If someone is in a neighborhood where the house values could go down, because of some potential coming in, like, so let's say they could make a move and they could pay a little bit more money, but then they have an opportunity to make it $300,000-$400,000 on the house because they upgraded to a neighborhood where the values are like at the bottom, but they have an upswing because they just developed the neighborhood, and they had an opportunity for a big upswing. People won't move for that, but as soon as they hear something of like, oh, they're going to put this behind my house. I mean, how many of you gotten that phone call where it's like that scary thing is going and they're going to widen the road. Now it's going to be closer to my yard. There's going to be more noise. They will run from that. And it may not really even impede their value. It may keep it the same, but the fear of losing is so strong that they will like run from that, not because of the noise necessarily, because of the value going down. I'm just trying to think of an example. If they will run, they won't go to the neighborhood. Like if they sold their house now and they could get into the next move up neighborhood, they might not, it's not as strong of a pull that they could make $300,000 or $400,000 on the upside of that other side of the neighborhood. Isn't that funny? Like that's a really good, Caitlin, that's a really good um analogy. Is that Kat from Ohio? Did you write that? Who wrote that? I'm sorry. It's Caitlin. Oh, Caitlin Peterson. Sorry about that, Caitlin. That's a really, really good in Utah. That's a really good analogy. Um, excuse me, guys. I apologize. The other thing, so Boris, you had your hand up too. Sorry, I'm making you wait.
No, I was just thinking when I was reading that part about the negativity, I was thinking about the real estate agent that I bought my house with. And
Mhm.
this was my first house. Before that, I owned a bunch of condos. And as you, I'm sure, all know, it's a totally different animal. And even though I've been in this industry for a long time and bought and sold condos and helped people buy houses, it was brand new for me. And we walked into one house and there was a beautiful porch elevated. And I thought, oh, I'm going to sit here with my scotch and enjoy the view. And he looked at me and he said, um, you see your pregnant wife going down that staircase or your toddler rolling down it. And then we walked into another house and he walked in a few steps ahead of me and he just turned around and walked out and he said, this is a stupid house. And I had no idea why, but then he explained it to me and it was a stupid house. And I was just wondering, and you guys obviously know your profession better than I do, but don't buy a wrong house.
Right? It's true.
That's the negative part of it, right? Like people should be afraid of buying the wrong house. Don't rush and buy a
Right.
wrong house.
Right. I mean,
And
that's what we could do as with our marketing guys is we could take some of the problems that happen and reframe it. Like have you had like one of the ones recently I saw that I really liked was home inspections. So with home inspections, I shared in our team page who did that. It was somebody in our organization. It was really good. But basically it was Alexis Hughes. She's on Instagram. So Alexis wrote on there, she's like, I'm going to play it for you. Let me find it. Okay. Because she did such a good job of this. I want you to see this. I thought I was so impressed. Hold on one second. I gotta find this. She does a lot of videos, so I might not be able to find it fast. Hold on. All right, I'm not a fast finder, so I'm not gonna make you wait. What she said was home inspection, she compared it to going to a primary doctor. So if you go to a primary doctor, that doctor is like an overview of your body, right? They do some blood work, but if you have a problem, like if you have a heart problem, you're going to go to a specialist. If you have something else going on with you, you're going to go to a I don't know, whatever, a pulmonologist or whatever the doctor is, it's a specialist. So that they're overall to give you a checkup. So that's basically what a home inspection is. But what got me was what she said about, how it's a referral. So like with a chimney, she was going to a house that had a chimney and the client put it as is. So what she explained to the consumer was, hey, when we do a home inspection, this is what it encompasses. It's like going to your primary care doctor. But if there's a chimney, they're going to say there's a chimney. They're not really going to give you any good insight on it. So if you have a pool, a chimney, a well, a septic, those things are for specialists. So basically, we need to have a chimney specialist because have you ever got people get upset because they have to pay a chimney specialist? I have, or a pool specialist to come out to check the pool. Like, well, isn't that included in my home inspection? Well, no, it's not. So I thought that her analogy with that was really good. So it's like it was a protection for them, and it kind of put her in a framework of in my mind of like, hey, if you didn't know this, like if you just worked with a regular agent who doesn't know that you need a specialist, like because we're with the due diligence in our area, we have due diligence. So if you're not working in that time frame, then you're not able to get that inspection done. So like that's a way you can set yourself apart. So I think the messaging here from a real estate perspective and from a realtor perspective is, how are we setting ourselves apart through some of the things that the struggles we deal with? So telling the story of the struggle, I think we do a really good job as agents of going, hey, here's this cute family or this lady, this lady was by herself that got her first house, or, or this nice young man or older guy who's retired and moving a move up. I think we do a good job of telling that story, but I think we miss the part where we tell the story of how, the struggles that can happen and you hate to say it's setting fear into them, but you are to some degree setting some fear into them of like, if you don't use me, I'm the one I can be your guide to guide you through this process so you don't have that struggle on the other side. Does that make sense? Has anyone done that? Has anyone had success or have any, or watched somebody or know, like someone does that at a high level? Caitlin, you're muted,
Hey.
honey.
Oh,
Oh, there.
can you hear me now? Okay. I I was thinking about this because who was it from New Jersey was talking about that same thing, like how to set yourself apart. But in my mind, I don't want to have to set myself apart by putting other agents down.
Oh,
Like, oh, well, if you don't use me, and you use this other crappy agent, like I want to know what your thoughts are on setting yourself apart. We have the best processes, we have the best whatever guide that we need to, I don't know. I just want to make sure that like when I'm going through it, I'm not putting the fear of using someone else.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally hear you. And I'm not suggesting that at all.
No,
Because
and I didn't think so. I'm
yeah,
just trying to think
yeah.
like out
No,
loud, like how would I put that in a way that wouldn't be putting someone down? And what's another way I could think
well,
about it?
I think the way to do that, Kate, I love that question. That's an excellent question. The reason I think that all you have to do is showcase what you're going to do to help them. I lost her. She went away. Where'd she go? But I think you're absolutely right. Like it's just helping them with that process of just guiding them through. So you're just showing like, hey, like when Alexis did that, she didn't put anybody down. She just said, this is this, and this is what, thanks for putting your hand back up because I lost you and I wanted to look at you while I was talking to you. Um, it was, I was when Alexis was doing that, she didn't put anybody down. She just showed them the process. And I think if you keep showing up that way, because I've always been like, I like to elevate other people up. Like I love elevating agents up. And I'll be the first one to shine the light on, be like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. But it's more the fear of the process of if they don't use you, you're not putting yourself down, you're shining a light on yourself that you know how to do it. So or you share a story, stories are great. So let's say that you have, like, let's pretend like it's my dad. My dad has Parkinson's, right? He's passed away now, but I'm just going to give you a story because this is close to me. So my dad had Parkinson's. He was moving from Maryland to be closer to his daughter, me, and we were trying to find the best place for him to be able to live the rest of his life and have the best quality of life. So my agent, I didn't do it because it was too close to me and I was too close to my dad. So I had an agent on my team help me and my dad. Like, I went there every appointment, but I had an agent on my team help write the contract and negotiate it because I was too close to it. So as we're going through that process, like, that's a story. So you can tell that story of, like, hey, I had this incredible girl, like, I'm incredible now. I'm just saying, like, I had this incredible referral from somebody who I really appreciate. And they trusted me with their father who has Parkinson's disease. And he's making a big move. He's moving 500 and 600 miles to an area he's never lived in his life. And she wanted him to have the best quality of life. So we chose Trilogy. They can golf cart there, they can do this. So you're like, and she trusted me to do that because she knew that I'd make the process seamless and easy. That's not saying anything bad about anybody else. That's just showcasing how amazing Caitlin is. Caitlin did a great job with my dad. And, and that's why testimonials are so powerful. So it's like this layering of stuff when we're marketing, right? So if I could get my dad, who was, by the way, was really cute, to go, oh my gosh, Caitlin was amazing, it's just another opportunity. Does that help?
Yeah, exactly. And I know she was talking about how we get the kind of like easier clients, like nothing really went wrong. Everything
Yeah.
was great. There's nothing to really have that bond other than maybe like little comments like, oh, well, not all agents know that we can do this super scope. So what do you think about that? And like, not saying putting anyone down. Like, I don't think that she was trying to say that. I think she's trying to like, how do you build that story bond if nothing's really like, there's no fear.
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
I do. I think that, there's other people out there. Nothing went wrong with my dad's transaction. I just told the story about how he was moving from out of town. Like, we all have that story, right? Where, okay, let's talk about another story. Let's say that it's someone buying their first home and we had a seamless transaction. And because we had a seamless transaction, it just made it that much easier. My goal working with my clients is to have seamless transactions. And we just did this with this first time home buyer. And usually that can be a lot. There can be a lot of issues that come up. They could have been scared. Like, you have to find, and like, even in the smooth, like, Caitlin, you're probably an awesome agent. That's why you have no problems in your transactions, because you have like this calm personality that kind of always soothes people. And I have like this very like up and down personality. So you probably, like, it's probably seems very smooth to you, and things may not hit you, but for your clients, guess what? That was going to be emotional for them. It may not seem emotional to you because you've taken the emotion out of that and done a great job of streamlining it for them. But for that client, if you had not been by their side, what could have been, what came out as a great end could have been emotional, but you were looking ahead. Like, you can even talk about how you look ahead for your clients. You're like, when I was thinking about this client and they're buying their first home, they wanted the perfect home. We had to get them into a home, like, sometimes it's just helping people, like, just telling the story. There's so many stories inside of if you really, like, I bet you if you sat down with your client list and you wrote down their names, and then, like, this is what I would do. I would take my client list, write down their names, think about their story, or think about things that could be hot topics, like take 5 things. And then create in your mind, then break it down by this book, by what it says, by the framework, because there's framework. For those of you who haven't read it, there's framework in here to work out of. And um and there's actually like a website too he has. I think when you buy the book, you get the website. I was trying to look at it for y'all, but I didn't have time. But I'm curious about it because it's free. I believe it's free. I don't. They could charge you. I don't think so though. But the framework, if you took that and you wrote down your clients' names and the 5 things that could have went wrong, how you were thinking ahead, like how you're thinking ahead, what could have went wrong, how you save them money, because people are tied to their money, right? That's a resource. Money's a resource for all of us, right? So we don't have, we're fearful. They were nervous about overspending on that house, or they were nervous about Karen Head, I love that. Speaking your truth and your value isn't putting others down. I love that. But telling their story, like finding those 5 or 6 things in there that helps you tell the story. So, Caitlin, does that help at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, does everybody, I mean, do you guys agree? Do you think that like if you wrote down your clients and took like 5 things, would that, do you think you could build a story? Like that would help me. I'm just thinking of this and I'm like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, and we're so quick to hide the things we do in the background to make it seamless. And we're so
Yes.
quick to be like, for them, maybe it was. And for us, we're like, that other agent was insane. But my client didn't know
I have
that
no idea.
because that's none of their business, really.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we're dealing with things that we don't necessarily tell our clients all the time, every day.
Right.
So that's a good point too.
That's smart. I think that when you think about one of the things you could do is, this is ugly right now, so don't look at this. Let's pretend like I'm going to use my nice. So these are all the things you could literally sit on the video and be like, these are all the things, like all these pages, and you could like literally take a book. Like, let me show you this book. You could take this book and go, this is what I do for my clients, right? And just like as a joke, like that would grab someone's attention. Without me, who's handling all of this for you? Right? Just asking a simple question, it's clear and concise. You're grabbing their attention. Um, I think that could be good. Like just even something simple like this. I'm gonna try, maybe I'll do that. Or is your agent reading books like, I don't know, I have a zillion books here, but like, are they reading books like this to help you with your transaction? Like, are you, what's like just things to show the public what you're doing. Okay, sorry. Kaylin, thank you for asking those questions. That was awesome. I love that. Erin.
First of all, this is awesome. I really love this. I'm also a loan officer, so hearing all of the perspectives is just like you said in the beginning, Shelley, like just even listening and not even, I mean, I did read a couple chapters already, but this is great. So good stuff. To echo and kind of talk a little bit more about like what Caitlin was talking about, and also I forget who it was. Maybe it was Sarah. Excuse me, I'm getting over being sick as well. It's that fun time of year. The parallel in, the story, our story, and what we do professionally, and putting that maybe behind the curtains, as kind of Caitlin saying, like not showing so much of what we're doing, but at the same time, really having a deep dive discovery, to call, or just really getting to know who your client is. Because I think what's so uniquely challenging about our businesses is that we have a product, but the product is determined by what it is the client needs. So, yes, we're selling real estate or we're providing financing for that real estate, but every single client needs it a little bit different than the next one. And understanding their goals and their fears is what I have found so uniquely bonding with clients, like not just saying, okay, are you W-2 and you have a salary? Like all of that's obviously very important, but connecting on the framework of tell me about your family, understanding where they come from. Who is it that is the decision maker in the family? Like, who is it that we need to really, what do we need to pay attention to because they're worried about it? Like, what are your fears? What's your best case scenario? All of these things that are, again, so unique to each client that we're serving, so that we're able to illustrate and eloquently say, by working with me, here's how I can help you avoid this list of things that you said you were fearful of. And in addition to that, and then tell a story about how you've done that in the past. And then also, I have found that using the words or saying the words, working with me instead of using me, creates a completely different partnership with my client, because who wants to be used? This is a partnership. I'm going to do all of the things that are going to serve you. I'm going to bring all of the ingredients to the kitchen. You're the cook, and I'll give you a bunch of recipes, but you get to choose which one. But I'm here to support you and make sure you have all the information. But at the end of the day, if they trust you and they feel guided by you, as the book says. I mean, that's really powerful. You're muted, Shelley.
I did that because I was coughing my head off earlier. Sorry about that. That's awesome. Thanks, Erin, for sharing that. You're right. It is about positioning ourselves. I feel like in a way that I love the using me versus working together. I think the teamwork is a good place, you know, because it starts so the thing is I think we're looking for is like how do we show that value on the front end so that people are engaging with us to have that opportunity to work with them. So I think that the messaging starts with it starts with our messaging, whether we're doing social media marketing. How many people are wanting to do more social media marketing? How many people are trying to reach their audience that way? What is do you mind dropping in the chat? Do you use YouTube? Like, what is your favorite way to market? You plug my phone, Hey, Lisa, you're unmuted, honey. Hey, Deb, there you go. She's the best. If y'all don't know Lisa Brandon, she's awesome. She's fun. What is your way? So Facebook, I see a lot of Facebook next door. Anybody using LinkedIn? Someone said LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Who's like really doing YouTube at a high level? I'm just curious. Like, do you feel like, or you're working to get to a high level? Like, is that your goal? Me, Holly. Awesome. The reason I'm asking this question is because that's what this framework or this book really is to really help you get the opportunity to say, work with me, right? But the framework of the book helps you do that. So if let me look at my notes here. Give me just a second. So I wrote down all the 5 things, like, okay, the character, so your character is your customer. It's the hero, not the brand. The customer is the hero, not the brand. So when we're talking about the Sherpa and the mountain climber, so the mountain climber is the hero, the Sherpa, like it's almost like it's like a flip-flop, right? We're not here to solve your problem. Like that's not really the goal. The goal is really to like give them the resources so they can solve the problem and be the hero, right? So that's the character. So the brand is not the hero. The brand is there and it builds a reputation based off of how well it guides others, the customer, to being a hero, to getting the house, to getting the girl, to getting the house, the dream house, to getting the whatever it is. So hey Kat, you had your hand up for a little while. I would love to hear what you have to say real quick, and then I'll jump back into the 7 steps.
I was just kind of coming back to what you said about, telling the story behind like a particular testimonial. And I think a lot of us do that when we're sharing to social media, hey, we just closed on this property or whatever. But do you think it would be beneficial, those people who have independent web pages, have a testimonials page or Google reviews? Do you think it would be beneficial when we respond to the Google review to tell the story if it's okay with the client? And then second, on our web page, rather than just sharing the testimonial, tell the story?
That's actually a really good question. I think Google reviews are great, and I think that they are like validating on like your website for sure. There are people who use them for proof, for peer proof. They're a proof for you.
Yeah, social proof. Yeah.
I don't think you need to wait to tell the story. I think it's more important to tell the story in a way that relates. And so I have an Instagram girl I follow on Instagram. She's a friend of mine. She has over 500,000 followers. I was with her last weekend and I was talking to her about this book that we're reading and the branding event that I'm doing next week. And she's like, Shelley, so what I realized I was doing, I'm gonna tell you where I did things wrong. Where I did things wrong is I was always like, okay, come to my virtual event so I can help you, because I love helping people. I love like taking people on a journey. That's just how I like doing that. So like come to my virtual event. And I don't like to be like, oh, Shelley's so great. And that's because I was worried that would come across. And that's not what I want. But what I was realizing, people weren't knowing who I really am. They see that I like horses and they love that. That's cool. That's fun. Michelle loves horses. But but they weren't really seeing behind the scenes of who I am. Like, what am I going through? Like, and my, you know, like today when I shot the video on my Instagram, if you watch that, I'm like kind of not my normal like high self. Like I try to bring out like the energy out because I want to give it to people, but I was a little bit lower. I watched and I was like, wow, your energy level was kind of low, Shell, you know, but it was real. I'm like, I was coughing my head off trying to shoot this video, and here I am, you know, and people want to see that piece. And she's like, so when you're on your Facebook and you're doing your stories, so let me show you. I'm going to show you. Do you mind if I show you? Is that okay? Is that boring? Okay. Okay, y'all. I have been coughing my head off. I just got finished again trying to shoot this video. The book we're reading today, Building a Story Brand, and we're going over, I hope you come, even if you haven't read it. And the reason is because I'm going to break it down for you. I don't know if you're like me. I have ADHD and I struggle. Like, so I was real there, right? That's the first time I've ever said on social media I have ADHD. The first time ever in my life. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't share that, because it's real. But the thing of it is I'm making it relatable at the same time I'm showing them that showing people that I have a path for them. So I'm gonna break it down for you how to do it, right? So I think that what that Instagram influencer told me was, she said, you have to just tell your story. And I'm like, why have I been so quiet around my story? And I'm like, you're reading a book about it. I mean, like, how many times do you have to hit yourself in the head, right? Like, people tell you stuff all the time and they give you these solutions, and we don't do it. And here I have, like, we all have the answers. So what the read that's what got me excited is this gives you the actual path. If you read this, if you get down, like, get on Audible and write your notes down, like this mess I have going on here. I have so much here trying to be organized for you that I'm unorganized, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay. So have you, can you guys relate to this? Okay.
That's classic ADHD behavior because I'm in your family with that. So being so organized that you were unorganized is classic ADHD behavior.
Right. Because I care so much. I wanted to bring so much value. I wanted to be this so good for you guys. Like, but that's I'm just being real with you. Like, I am freaking not perfect at all, but I want to show up and be there for you. So here you go. So the character thing is real, like that. Customer hero, not your brand. How many times, like, LePage Johnson is our brand, my team brand, right? Everybody, you guys, a lot of you know that brand, I hope, or you think good things when you hear that name, I hope. So, because that's what we want. We want people to feel good about it. So it's good manners and good business to honor your audience. I was like, wow, think about that. It's good manners and good business to honor your audience. I'm trying to think about, I was thinking about something that crossed my mind about that. So the problem, companies all are, hold on. There's 3 problems a customer has. They have external problems, internal problems, and philosophical problems. If we can address all those problems on 3 levels, that's how you really engage with people. So customers are looking for internal solutions to their problems. Like, think about financial services for a minute, or like to Micah's point, the insurance company. I don't want a tsunami to wipe out my condo. Like, holy moly, like that'd be bad. Like, and then I'm like, and then she made me think, I'm like, do I have tsunami insurance? I never even thought of that. Christine's laughing her ass off at me. That's you see her? So I'm like, now I have a problem. Shelly has a problem. So, but what if all of a sudden on my Instagram or my social media or wherever it is my attention is at, because that's where we spend our time, is on our attention, right? What if all of a sudden insurance agent goes, hey, if you live by the ocean, do you have tsunami insurance? Have you ever thought about that? Do you think I'm gonna, like, they're giving me, that's an external problem. An internal problem is like, now, oh, if that happens, a tsunami wipes out my house. Now I have my internal problem is I don't have a house to live in, right? And I'm worrying about that. Like, I can ruminate on that at nighttime. Like, my ADHD would let me do that. It would really be happy with that. And then philosophical problem is like, who am I going to trust? It's going to, like, actually pay out when we have the tsunami, right? That's the philosophical problem. So the philosophical problem, so if someone can answer all 3 of those questions, clear and concise, then I have a solution, right? So the third thing is we start to look for a guide. Okay, I could call State Farm. I could call, I don't know, XYZ insurance company. I don't need, I need them to be the hero so I can go tell Kevin, hey, Kevin, I figured out how we don't have the tsunami insurance, and and I can be the hero now because State Farm, I found the perfect solution for our tsunami problem because they're gonna pay our problem. So there's mental triggers with that. So like with the guide, where there's two mental triggers. And so now they're going to give me a plan. So now I'm on the phone with Jason at State Farm. And I really do have a Jason at State Farm. And he's in Charlotte if you ever need a good insurance agent. And Jason at State Farm is going to talk to me about a plan. So they're going to give me a process and a plan on how they can help me. So it's like it's kind of systematic if you really think about it, how we can talk to people. And then we go to calls to action. Reasons, like, so it's an outside, like, challenged by an outside force. The outside force was Micah, my friend, on a Zoom call, said to me that I could have a tsunami and I might need insurance. That was an outside force that caused me to think like that. And then they made an obvious and clear action that they're going to solve my problem. But think about this from a real estate perspective. Like, how could you take someone through that journey in real estate, or whether you're a mortgage officer? How could you take someone through that journey, right? Where, let's say Erin was so nice to put her hand up and talk to us today. Let's say Erin it has a solution now. For her, let me just, I'm gonna make some assumptions right now. And Erin, don't get mad at me, okay? Everyone on this call probably heard mortgage officer and was like, oh my gosh, right? We've all had like 35 loan officers, but Erin showed up and gave value to us, right? And she's like, hey, she tried to give us like some value, and which was awesome. But the thing of it is, how does Erin stand out from all the other mortgage people in the world, right? How do we stand out so that I'm not just another person calling up saying, hey, can we have coffee? I'll talk to you about getting your business. So that's the crux of all our problem and of how we're trying to engage with people. And we're trying to avoid a tragic ending, right? We want the guy to get the girl to get the house. We want you to get the client, right? So it's like we want Enza to get the client. So how are we going to help her be able to avoid the tragic ending of the client not calling her? It's just creating that compelling, concise way of working together. So if you go through, the reason I think it's really cool, if you even don't have ever had a client in your life, I think it could be really powerful to take that platform and kind of go through this process and come up with your own stories of how you can share on social media to get your message out so that you can get the chance to have that opportunity to get in front of that person. So, and I'm just taking you through this process to do that. They have to have something at stake, something that's at stake that's going to scare them if they don't do it. Like, that's why I said the fear thing. I wasn't trying to like make you feel like I'm trying to compare realtor to realtor, but the fear thing is more about if they don't use you, they may not get that opportunity to get that house or whatever it is, like they might not go through that process, or they might not know about that house because they went on Zillow and they missed out on all the other opportunities that are on Zillow right now. I mean, how many of you know about a house that's coming on the market potentially, and you know that someone wants a lake house and they want it to be in Mooresville, North Carolina, and they want it to be $1.5 million, and you happen to know someone who might sell their house? They would consider it if they could find the next house. Anybody have that kind of situation? Do you know someone, like I know Christine knows someone right now who is going to sell their house in Mooresville, and it's going to be coming up in the next couple months, and nobody on this call knows about that house, not one of you. And I know she knows, and it's a nice house. But you see what I'm saying? So you just, if you are the person who is on this call now, Christine has a house. Now that's something you can tell tell the world. Hey, I know there's a great house coming on the market in Mooresville, in a great school district that everybody wants to live in. And so you see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to help us think different. My brain is, I'm sorry, I'm like talky. But is it helpful? Anything we're talking about helpful? Okay. So like that's a conversation. Or like if you're getting ready to stage a house, like just even the fact that you're staging a house is exciting. Like if you walk, like Michelle's good at this. If you walk through, I think she's done a home good walkthrough. Yeah, you have. Yes, you are. You better nod your head. Yes, I'm amazing at this. Um, she staged a house. Like if you're going to Home Goods, you're like in your car and you do stories, like they don't have to be perfect at all. So if you just click on your phone and you go, hey, I'm getting ready to go into Home Goods because it's one of my favorite places just to pick up a few items for a client that's getting ready to list their house for sale. Right. And if you did that with them, and then you walk in Home Goods and you're like, I always pick white linens and a white comforter. Or you go on your Amazon page and you could do a loom video and you could show like your Amazon cart of like, click, 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 click. These are I like Bedsure, by the way. Like they have great stuff on Amazon. And they're $27. Like everyone wants to know what's on my beds. Like Amy's not here right now, but everyone wants to know, like, what do you have on your beds? So it's the same stuff I used in staging years ago. But if you say, look, I've got an Amazon link with everything you need to stage your house, right? Like everything you need to stage your house, I have a link for that. All you gotta do is it's gonna show up on your doorstep. Did you just not solve someone's problem? What is the biggest reason why people don't list their house? It's dirty. They don't know how to get they have to get the roof cleaned. They need to get the porches washed off. And if you show people that you can press the easy button for them on listing their house, you're going to get more listings. So create an Amazon cart for them and just say, hey, I'll send you my Amazon link. And and it's going to have my top 10 things you need to stage your house. You need a white waffle curtain for your bathroom, no colors, a white bedding with a duvet. You need white sheets. You need everything to be, because the reason we use white is because it neutralizes everything. Like if you sell a bed, like if your client has a bed with color on it, get rid of it. Because what it does when you take a picture of the room, you could tell the story on social media, like right now, as soon as we hang up. You could go on social media and say, hey, when I'm selling a house, I like to use white. You're like, white? Why white? I use white because when you take a picture of a room and it's got a blue comforter on it, and you can show, like, go find something on social media, it makes the room look smaller. If it has if a living room has a small rug in it, you just made the room less valuable. Take the rug out. Like size and proportion matters. And that's why people hire me, because I have an expertise in understanding how to stage a house to maximize your opportunity. You don't have to give them the link to Amazon, but you can tell them you have it. So when you come on your listing appointment, you got the link and you're going to make things easy for them because that's what they want. You just made it easy. They're the hero. You're just providing the guide. You're the guide to getting their house on the market. Now, here's the thing. If you're not on social media telling people that you have the solution for them, do they know it? Who are they going to pick? They're going to pick the guy or gal who has the solution, right? So, that's for Caitlin. I don't know if she's paying attention because she was on the phone, but that's what I would be doing. That's how I would be talking to my client. It's selling houses. That's how you talk to them to get they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Enza, she has exactly what I need. She has a list of people who will power wash. You could just go somewhere where someone's power washing. The guy that you're going to use to power wash the house that you're going to sell, go call him and say, hey, Mr. Power Washer, where's your next job that's going to look good when it's done? Because we don't want one that's not going to look beautiful when it's done, right? Go over there and say, before you start, I want to take pictures. When you finish, can I take pictures or a video? Not pictures, a video. And then you toss it into CapCut and you make a reel, right? And you, in the front end of it, you say, you could even be talking as you say it and say, hey, I'm heading over to my favorite power washer, Jack's Power Washing. And I'm going to show you the difference it makes and why it's so important when you're going to list your house with me, why we do these things. First of all, that's the client you want, the one that's willing to power wash the front porch that needs power washing and doesn't expect you to come over with your power washer and do it. Have you ever had a client do that? They expect you to come over and do the work. I have literally like planted flowers, cleaned out flower beds, clean bathrooms. We've done it all, right? We don't want to do that. That's not our job, right? Our job is to help sell houses. So if you can get with that guy. And now what did you do? You did two things. One, you elevated yourself in front of the consumer online, that you're the person. And then Jack's Power Wash, you just did a marketing piece for him. He loves you. When his mom goes to sell her house, who's he calling? He's calling Enza. He's calling Isabel. He's calling her. He's calling that girl and Laura. He's gonna call you guys. So Jack's now indebted to you. He loves you. He's like, and then you do it again. You're like, he'll be like, why are you doing this? Hey, because we want to build a business together. You're my business partner. And with my business partners, this is what I do. So, and the same thing goes to, like, you can do the same thing with your, I live in Huntersville, and the reason I love Huntersville is because this is my favorite sushi restaurant. It's not fancy, but it's sushi, and they're efficient. And it's not fancy. I can come in here and I can relax. I can work on my laptop and work on my business while I'm sitting here eating my sushi. It's my favorite place. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, there's so many things to talk about, and the consumer's like, oh wow, she's always working. I mean, I think that's why people use me, is they saw me working all the time, like a crazy woman. Because they're like, oh, she's gonna work really hard for me. But I didn't really want that reputation, because all I did was get people who wanted to work. Thank you, Erin. So okay, I ran my mouth a lot. Can someone please take over?
I would love to know, like, do you have a YouTube channel? Like, I would love to go on there and kind of like look at different videos, see what you guys do, if anybody on here does, just so I can get an idea, because I have ADHD too. So like, like, it's like, you want this, but no, I want this, and then I want this. I kind of feel like I always explain myself to be like an everything bagel. I want it all, and I feel like my YouTube video would be too much of everything.
Well, that's kind of what I'm doing to you right now. If you haven't noticed, I'm like giving you everything, right? In my brain, the more I engage with people, the better my brain works. So that's why it's probably gotten, I feel like I'm more useful now than I was at the beginning of our call, because I'm giving you things you can take and use. And that's really what I want to do. So to answer your question, I have a YouTube channel, but I don't have a lot of great content on there to help you yet. But my Instagram channel is this. And if you go there, I'm working on my YouTube channel right now. So I've been fortunate to have some people that want to help me with the things I'm not great at. And I will tell you, just focus on a few things. I know I have ADHD, but one thing I'm really good at is grabbing hold of something and holding on to it. So right now, my focus is on building other agents' business. I want people to be successful. I've already done this. I know how to help you guys build something where people are going to go, I'm going to use her. And that gets me excited. Like, I love that. Like, I like, nothing makes me happier than when someone says, you told me to do this. I sold 7 houses. I'm like, oh, I love that. So, like, 'cause social media is so noisy. So I used to think social media was social. It's not. It's actually, I need to break it down. I don't have it in front of me right now, but breaking it down is something like this. So your Facebook and your Instagram is really just, oh my gosh, like my nose is like all the way from the camera. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. But it's this, a couple things. It's getting really concise, right, on there. And yes, they want to know you. And like, Christine has a beautiful dog named Yari. So when people think of Christine, they think of Yari too. He's like her best buddy on the earth. He's amazing. And but the other thing, he's back there. I know he's right there. So, and he lays in my lap. I'm just saying. She just hates that. So, but the thing of it is, if you guys get really concise on your messaging, and you figure out what it is that you want to talk about with your group, and you show value to them, that like you're the guide. So what did I just showed you? I'm like, I showed you that if you tell people you know how to stage a house and get it done, and you don't have to be the stager. Like, you need to find, Isabel, where do you work? What area?
I'm in Texas, so the Woodlands, Texas.
Okay. So Woodlands, Texas. Okay. So for you, like, you got to find a really good stager. You may already have one, right? So yours could be conversations with your stager. Yours could be, Like you start with that, and then start with how you really position a house. So when we talk about staging a house, I don't love the word staging because that sounds, it's fine, it's a fine word, but you're really positioning the house by using a professional stager to help you. And you have professionals. You don't have to say stager. You say, I have professionals that help me position the house so that you're going to get the most amount of money. People don't know what that means though. So that's when you tell the story behind it. Okay, so what did I just do? I said, okay, I've got professionals. I'm going to position the house with these professionals that I've got, right? But really what you're going to do then is you're going to say, you're going to tell the story behind that. Behind that is like, I've got an incredible stager and we work together to make sure that when we put your house on the market, you're going to make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And I have a plan will work for you that's going to create that. So just keep telling the story. And the best marketer, so it's not that anyone's any better than you. You're going to hate, a lot of you realtors are going to hate me when I say this. Okay, bye, Mickey. When you're going to hate me when I say this, but I hate to tell you this, but our skill is not our contracts. It's not. Our skill is our ability to help people through the transaction, right? This part is important and it's fundamental and we have to know it, but we're actually marketers. We are not realtors. Some people are going to hate me for that. But it took me a long time to figure out that my job was not to fight with the other side. Like that does not help my client by fighting with the other side. It doesn't make me look good. I don't do them a service my job is I'm a diffuser. So when I was trained in real estate, I was trained by a paralegal who worked for a really tough law firm in Maryland when I first started out. And she taught me to fight for everything. Like $1,000, you're going to lose your client's house over $1,000? Like their dream house? You're going to make them go through hell? How many agents have you had out there that put their clients through hell over a little bit of money? Yeah, $500 is a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money. But guess what? If I really want it, I may pay $20,000. And like we make it our business to like our financial money, our brain, we make it our business to worry about their finances. That's not our job. Our job is to convey the information to them. Now I'm on another subject, but our job is to convey the information to them so they can make an educated decision and tell us how to react. But when I first got into real estate, this girl told me that my job was to fight. And I'm like, and I did that for a little while and I hated it because I'm not a fighter, I'm a lover. So I know that we're getting to the end of this and we're way past it actually. But if you guys want to, um, let me know if you want to do another call, like shoot me a DM on Instagram, or so if you want to do like further this, because I'll dig into this further with you all for whoever's interested. Like I know it's not for everybody, but if it's helpful, I'll dig in with you guys. Like this is my passion. Like I know how to get houses sold and how to help you sell more houses. It's fun. And then I want to see you win. I want to see you like, oh my gosh, I sold 30 houses this year, 30 more than last year. Like that's fun. Okay, cool. Kat says yes. Okay. So we need to get another date on the calendar. Hey, Deb, are you on here? It's really Deb. You see her?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Are you on there, Deb?
Oh, yep. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. When could we do another like follow-up call to this call on my calendar?
You're hysterical.
I'm only leaving on Sunday. I only have like a meeting Friday night. Like I have no time. 2 weeks at least. I love that, Kat. Thank you. Because you're going to read the book. You're going to get in there and dig in. I know it.
Yeah.
So like in 2 or 3 weeks, is there like an hour we could just jump on another call?
Let me check because we've got Cabo coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Who's going to Cabo? Is anybody going to Cabo? Anybody? Oh, you guys need to go to Cabo.
I'm not going to Cabo, but I will be in Puerto Vallarta in May.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Puerto Vallarta. I've been there twice. I love it. It's really
Yeah,
nice.
my favorite place for sure.
Yeah. Do you go to that island, not island, but that special place where they do the Cirque du Soleil? Have you done that?
I have not. I go to Garza Blanca, which is like it's a really neat hotel. It's like all inclusive. So there's a bunch of like, restaurants there, different. I think they have 3 or 4 different hotels you can choose from.
So if you go there, there's a boat from Puerto Vallarta that you can take out. It's like about an hour ride, and they do this dinner, and you ride up, and it's like all this light is shining through the water, and there's all these fish floating around. And then when you get there, it's like they meet you, and there's music like all this like tropical music, and it's all lit up with fire. The whole island is lit up with fire. There's no electricity on it. There's electricity on it, but it's lit up by fire. And so you walk down this pathway, and they have people doing tricks and stuff, and then they serve you dinner, and they have like a Cirque du Soleil performance. It's amazing. So I think it's
Yeah,
called
I'll have to look into that. That
it starts
sounds
with
pretty
A, but I
cool.
can't think of the name of it, but it is magical. Like it's such a
Okay,
good experience.
I'll have to
Okay.
try that.
Back to the book club.
Yeah, guys, sorry.
In 2 weeks, right? In 2 weeks, you've got your agent attraction ballers at
Hey,
1.
I have an idea. I have an idea. Why don't you guys all come to my branding event? It's going to be next week
There you go.
on the 25th. What time is that, Deb?
Before I say, let me.
She's checking. It's next week. I think I don't know what time it is. It's on the 25th. I know that much. So come to the branding event because that's going to be really good. And I'll lean into more of this with you on that event. How's that? Because that's what this really is.
It's 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Okay. And it's going to be on zoomshelly.com.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. So
Yep.
put that on your calendars, and I'll lean into this more, and I'll give you some really good nuggets to take away. And I'll dig into the story brand even more to share that. But what I'm using for that event is that this book's coming up in the book club. I know you guys know that, but we're going to use in the story brand, let them, because it's going to help you get out of your head. Okay. So that's the reason I'm using this book. I'm using the let them theory to help you build your brand. Okay. So that's what this is. So come to that, and then we'll keep going. We'll just keep going together. I promise you, we'll just keep good stuff coming. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for coming today. I appreciate you. Christine, good to see you. Good to see you, Boris. Thanks for participating and being a part of this with me. It's fun.
Thank you.
Bye, Bye guys. Bye, Kat.
Thank you.